you're not a real one unless you have one of these good fight shirts after one of those sub-only competitions. I like these shirts. I think they're like, I really like the shirts that are like special to like that one tournament, right? Because like the Naga has the shirts that are in every tournament, like it's the same shirt, maybe with like a different tour date or whatever. But I like these because they're specific towards one tournament and they redesign and stuff. So I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, so for today's video, we're gonna be talking a little bit about the rib injury that I was dealing with, and I wanna go over some strategies and some exercises that I've been doing to help with the pain, to help with recovery, and my approach to training now that I'm in the midst of this recovery. So I wanted to say that like over the past couple of days especially, I've noticed a big turnover as far as the pain goes. The pain has decreased like significantly, and I'm very happy about that. I was really worried about this injury because I know that they can lead into something serious and they can lead into a lot of time off training. And it's really interesting too, because like for those of you that don't know, I did personal training, strength and conditioning coaching. I've done a lot of like different like anatomy and exercise correction courses and such of that nature. And I've learned a lot about the human body and like how to deal with injuries and such. And for many things, I kind of have like a very clear idea as far as like how to resolve a lot of like the basic pains that like we deal with on a daily basis, low back pain, shoulder pain, like nagging pain that just occurs throughout your body. And one of the things that I would see commonly that people would talk about like online or just training partners, clients, they would talk about rib injuries that would come up. And I would always look at the rib injury as something that I didn't really know much about. And it was this common injury that people were getting. You know, everyone complains about their wrist, their shoulder, their knees or whatever. And there's some pretty clear things that you can do to recover that, but I didn't know much about the rib area. And then I get the injury in the rib. And also the reason why I figured out a lot about corrective exercises is because I've dealt with so many injuries in my training career. Like I've dealt with everything from, you know, I was doing powerlifting for like 3-4 years. I did bodybuilding. I did like extreme types of diets where I would be very low in body fat percentage. I dealt with a lot of injuries. And so I learned a lot about how to deal with them because now a lot of those injuries have resolved. Like I used to have really killer lower back pain, and I haven't had lower back pain in close to a year now. So there, you know, sometimes it flares up, but I'm always aware of what to do if it flares up. But I didn't know much about the ribs. So when it happened, I thought that was very interesting. If maybe that was a way of me trying to figure out how to resolve it in a clearer fashion, so that way I can educate other people. And that's basically what I want to do today. Share a little bit about what happened, what I've been doing to recover, and how my mindset has shifted. So firstly, let's take it back to what originally like caused it, right? So I'll say I've never ever dealt with rib pain before. I've never had rib pain. I've never had pain in my sternum area, my chest, none of that. I've never had pain there. And I'm not sure if this is relevant or not, but I definitely was playing a very heavy inverted game. I've been working on that, and it's potentially that the cause of the rib pain could have potentially came from maybe being stacked, having weight when my spine is compressed, and things of that nature. I definitely started to realize that as I was playing inverted, my shoulders posture started to kind of round forward, and I wasn't doing the right things to correct that. And I don't know if that was maybe could have caused it because it was very random. So I was training. It was definitely quite a high intensity week. I was definitely trained like maybe like 6 days in a row, and I was doing some pretty intense comp rounds, and nobody even had any pressure on me. I wasn't even compressed, but I literally went to do like a shrimp or a hip escape, and all of a sudden I felt like a pop right in my rib area. Now, it didn't feel like a bone shift. It felt like a muscular strain, right? And we're gonna talk about like the differences, right? Because I've heard of stories of people dislocating their rib and they're like, oh, I'm in so much pain, like, oh my God, like it hurts to breathe, and it becomes this like really miserable thing. And I'm very thankful that wasn't the case. It felt just kind of like you tore a muscle, and it felt it right there in that rib area. And I remember just waiting a second, I was like, okay, that wasn't too bad. And I kind of continued on with my training, but I definitely felt its limitations. I cut it off early after a couple rounds, winded up going back home and kind of just taking it easy. So initially I took like a full week off, and there was definitely some good pain there, and I was I was a little concerned. I was a little worried. I never did go to the doctor, and that's probably stupid, but I just didn't want to go because I just didn't want to go. And I felt that with my knowledge, I was just going to see I was going to see how it recovered on its own, because I felt that after doing some research and I was looking up online and other people dealing with it, that it's just one of those things that it just takes some time to recover, and that you just need to not restrain it. I started to explore some exercises as well, and what type of things that you can do in order to kind of like stretch that area. And just based off of what I was reading and what I was researching, it seemed like an intercostal strain is what it was, and I still believe it to be that. I don't think it was a dislocation or anything. I believe that if it's like a dislocation or like there's a fracture, you're gonna feel a lot more pain than what I went through. I really do think that. I think if that's you, then you definitely got to go to the doctor. You're probably in so much pain that you want to go to the doctor, right? Like it wasn't like that for me. My thing was, it was always hurting while I was like moving around and stuff. So it seemed to be like an intercostal strain, which is those muscles that are running around the rib cage area, and it seemed that there was a strain there. So what I did was I rested for like a week and a half, and when I came back to training, I definitely felt it. And then I took another week off, and then I was really disappointed because I had a lot of training that I wanted to do that was coming up. There was a competition coming up. I was going to travel and go train with some of my coaches up north, and it was, very disappointing that happened. So I took a week off to let it recover as much as possible, and I ended up just going through with it. And I went to New York, and I went to go and train, and I trained for like 4 days, like the entire time. And the first couple of days, it wasn't that bad, but it started to kind of hit me on the third day. But I knew I was already there. I wanted to get this in. I already scheduled it, and I was like, F it, I'm just gonna go and keep training. And I kept training. I ended up being all right, but it definitely hurt more. It definitely started hurting more, and I got worried again. And I came back from New York. I had the competition that weekend, and I was like, I've trained so hard for this, and I really I have to go into it. And I took a couple days off when I came back, and it started to feel better. And, at this point, I started doing like rehabilitation exercises, stretches, different lacrosse ball drills I'm going to kind of show here in a bit. And, that winded up being okay. Like I did a training session a couple days before the tournament. I did it for a couple days, and it was okay, but I was kind of just ignoring the pain and dealing with it and trying to just stretch it out, trying to just do what I can, take cold showers, try to like ice it a little bit. And I winded up going through with the tournament, and did a few matches there. Winded up getting second place. It was a fun time. I definitely started feeling it though at the end there, and I was like, shit, like this might be pretty bad. And so I started to then do a little more research. I started to learn a little bit more about like massaging it, and actually learning more about the icing it, because before I was really just stretching it, and then I started to incorporate some like myofascial release stuff and some icing, and that's when I felt like a huge turnover. So basically the myofascial release was really simple. Now, what I think that you should do is to incorporate like 3 different things if this type of muscular strain happens, or if really any muscular strain happens, then you could do this. Well, you want to do mobility to the area. So specifically for the ribs, I was doing a lot of extension work, thoracic extension work, rotation work, and I was also really concentrated on keeping my rib cage down so that way my core could engage. And this was a really important thing that I had to incorporate. So I started getting that core to brace, I started getting my core to engage, and I felt like my rib cage was starting to relax more. Like the tension from the core started to relax more of the rib cage. So I started doing a little bit of core work, I was doing that mobility stuff, like I said, and then I would just take my fingers and rub into like the intercostal muscles here, whatever I felt to be tight, whatever I felt to hurt. And I started getting in there and massaging it for like maybe 5-10 minutes, and then I would ice it for 15 to 20 minutes. And I did that I did a few sessions of that, probably like 5 or 6 sessions over the next few days after that tournament. Kind of rested it for a week, and then I trained again, and it felt so much better. It felt so much better. And that was last week. And then this week I went into a training session, and I literally like almost forgot, like halfway through drilling, like I forgot that I had the injury. And so that was huge for me. It was just that myofascial release was huge. And this was always something big, especially for shoulder injuries. Like, people can do all the PT exercises and stuff, but one of the best things that you can do for like shoulder pain is to get a lacrosse ball and rub out your upper pec, get into your shoulder blades and start to work myofascial release through the shoulder blade to get rid of scar tissue, build more range of motion. You can do the same thing for the knees. You can do it in the quads and in the hamstrings and in the calves, and that will actually release a lot of tension, and that really helps well with pain. So it made sense. And when I started, and like, you know, that was huge. And then I decided to do some live rounds, because I took a few days off of doing live rounds, and I did feel it a little bit, but not nearly as much. And I was able to kind of like pick up the pace a little bit. And then even today, like, it doesn't feel really sore. The sleep has been a lot better. I can't really lay on my side. I am a side sleeper, and unfortunately I can't really lay on my side that comfortably, so I've had to adapt to sleeping on my back. So that's another big important concept to look at, is just looking at your habits, like your sleeping position, your position of like how you're driving your car and stuff like that. And so you know, it was a very good thing to have done, and I'm really glad to have done that. And I think that more people need to learn about myofascial release. I think that it is the number one thing that I've recommended to anybody with an injury, and it works like almost 100% of the time. People are feeling pain relief from it. It's a big thing that they do in physical therapy. It's a big thing that strength coaches do to their athletes. So it's something that is up to us to kind of like take care of. So, you know, now that it's recovering and moving forward, you know, I'm still going to be careful. I don't have like a stream of tournaments that I'm doing from July into August. I'm doing like 5 or 6 tournaments. And so my most important thing is that by July I'm recovered. So I'm taking it very easy over the next couple weeks. I'm going to take days off if I feel like I need to. Even if I don't feel like I need to, I'm just going to let it rest, let it recover, and hope that by July I'm feeling 100% and I'm ready to perform to my best effort. So I'm deciding here that I'm not going to go too crazy until like as far as the exercises go, unless it is requested. If it's requested, I will do a full episode on exercises, because it is going to take a decent amount of time. So if you guys aren't really interested in that, I'm not going to waste time. But if you're interested in just listening to the story, then that's what this video is great for, and kind of what my approach was to trying to correct this issue to the best that I possibly can. If you want to see more of the exercises go, or you have any other injuries that you're dealing with, feel free to just comment below, and maybe it could make the next video idea. So I hope you guys found this video enjoyable, and I'll talk to you soon.